All right. Really.
Do you have a starter?
Well, I was online and I was looking to see how quickly I could get my hands on a Stretch Armstrong, because Fantastic Four had a scene that was as close to our childhood dream of destroying a Stretch Armstrong. And you know the thing, Stretch Armstrong came out in '76, right? So I was 11, and everybody in the neighborhood who had a Stretch Armstrong had the same dream to see how far you could stretch him, but no one wanted to pull him so far that they would break him, because no one wanted to sacrifice a Stretch Armstrong. And so we pulled Stretch Armstrong a lot. And you got to a certain point, and his stomach started to turn white, you know, and it was like, let go. So the plastic would squeeze together, and that was my movie flashback.
Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Noah.
I'm Dad, and there's a little more dad lore for you.
Yeah.
Because a few people have said that they like that. So we're going to talk about Superman today.
You're funny. We're talking about the other July superhero release.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, First Steps.
Yes.
Long rumored. You and I had spoken a little bit off camera about this movie coming out, and I thought I understood how this movie was going to go, and it was completely not what I was expecting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Completely?
Yeah, actually, I thought it was, I thought, I don't know why, but I thought there was a time travel element to this. I thought there was like a multiverse switch element, like Fantastic Four from one multiverse universe was going to come to a different one. That's what I thought was going to happen. So I'm watching this movie unfold, and I probably 30 minutes in said, abandon that preconception you had, because it's not going to happen.
I think I knew exactly how this movie was going to end up based on the trailer. I think I knew exactly where this movie was going based on the trailer. Of course, then they gave me hope with the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, where in the post-credit scene of Thunderbolts, where they make it back to Avengers Tower after a job and pull something up on the screen, and it's the Fantastic Four ship. It rolls over, and there's the Four symbol, and everyone's like, ah! Everyone's excited because Fantastic Four are coming.
So was Thunderbolts in the 828 Earth?
Nope. So
all right, maybe that's where I got this whole idea.
Yeah.
Right.
So they will come to the main MCU timeline eventually, because we've seen it.
Which is
It's 1,999 or something like that.
Well, there's actually there's a number, and then there's
they keep getting it wrong.
No, they have two different numbers at the. It's Earth 616.
It's not Earth 616. That is the comics continuity. That is the mainline comics continuity.
Okay, but yeah, I did see a second number attached to it, but
it should be like 16 or
yeah, it's big.
It's big. It's a big, long number,
which is why I didn't write it down.
They made that reference, and they made it as a reference without actual, because then they wanted the comic book universe and the movie universe to exist in the same multiverse, and you can't do that with two 616s. You just can't. Anyway, 828, it's a reference to Jack Kirby's birthday.
I caught that at the end. I was alert enough to catch that at the end of the movie. And of course, I did have to go home and check and see if Vanessa Kirby and Jack Kirby were related, which would have been cool, but they're not, you know. It's kind of like, this probably means nothing to you, but Carl Yastrzemski, who was a baseball great, his grandson is playing for the Giants. And his grandson just made this. He plays for the I just said the Giants. He plays right field, and he just made this spectacular catch. I mean, it is a a highlights reel catch. And I saw the name Yastrzemski, and I'm like, oh, is this? And it turns out that it is, and it's really cool. It's kind of fun to see the family connections. Nice. Yeah, a little baseball thing.
Fantastic Four.
Did you like it?
It was good. I don't think it was great, but it was good. And I'll start with that.
Okay.
I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think this movie is going to save the MCU for multiple different reasons.
No, this is not.
I think it was a fun, entertaining, and I think it was a good Fantastic Four movie. Although I have a different idea of what it also was, which we'll get to later.
Oh, this ought to be interesting.
But, yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think I liked it. I like this take on the Fantastic Four. Of course, I have seen all the different takes on the Fantastic Four, minus the 90s take, which is very hard to come across, unless you, like, find it on YouTube somewhere, pirated.
All right.
Are you aware that there was a 90s movie?
I read about it just recently, but I didn't.
There was a 90s movie that never saw the light of day. Sometimes you can watch it at Comic-Con, and I think you can pirate it. Then there's obviously the two in the early 2000s.
Right.
And then there was Fan Four Stick, which was the reboot.
Right.
Miles Teller.
Right.
And
that
Jordan,
one died.
And that one died on arrival. That one crashed and burned.
I've never seen that one.
And now we have this one. And don't watch it. Or maybe we will watch it someday. We have this one. So what were your thoughts on it?
Well, not really knowing what to expect on it.
Okay.
I liked it.
Okay.
I went and I liked it. So a couple reasons why. Fantastic Four in my childhood was my favorite cartoon.
Yeah.
Or my comic book rather.
Yeah.
Right. And I do remember the cartoon. So the overview at the beginning of the movie, the bookend of the talk show host, who did a great job of narration and telling backstory without making us relive the backstory.
Yeah.
That was great.
Everyone knows. They go up, they get blasted, they come down.
They come down and they're different,
Look
right?
at us. I will say the at the very opening when the ship comes back down and it's in the water and Thing punches the door.
Right.
That was a really
was cool. That was good.
That was a really good way of showing it.
And then the shot of the comic, the cartoon from my childhood. It was fun.
Redone.
Right. It was good to see. I loved the 60s vibe. Now in my house, right, you only lived in the current house for a year before you ventured out on your own. In this house, the most hated phrase is mid-century modern.
Yeah.
I am so tired of hearing it, but it is a mid-century modern house, and your mother wants to decorate it that way. And it is my least favorite era for interior decoration.
Okay. All right.
Having said that, I absolutely loved the vibe of the costumes and in everything because
it was so refreshing.
It was my childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, this whole thing was this absolutely wonderful step back in time to my childhood.
And you know what it did? It's this weird weirdly full circle type of thing. So we've talked about The Incredibles before on this channel.
Yes.
And obviously The Incredibles is Fantastic Four and James Bond combined.
Yes, it is.
If you look at the aesthetics of Incredibles, it's very it's like very 50s, 60s.
Yes, it is.
Very 50s, 60s. And now we have a Fantastic Four movie that seems to be drawing that.
Yes, it is. And they did a beautiful job of drawing.
They really did. And it's an homage to when the characters started. They're known as Marvel's first family, and they kind of did, alongside Spider-Man, help relaunch Marvel as a comic book industry, comic book giant.
All right.
Kind of into what we know it as today. Like this Fantastic Four helps cement that.
Okay.
So this is Marvel's first family. They're a legacy franchise.
I've never understood this movie off to the side.
Yeah.
I have never understood why Fantastic Four was not more popular than it has been. And I've never understood why the early 2000s movies weren't well received. Now, having said that, hold that thought for just a moment that you're about to say. After I saw this movie, I understood.
You understand?
I understand better because so my biggest criticism of this movie, my biggest complaint about this movie, is that because they told the same story as Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, you knew how this movie was going to end. They basically this is like Never Say Never Again retelling Thunderball, right? I mean, it's the same plot, it's the same story. It has a minor tweak, which honestly, it's one of the first. I don't know if I should say recasting or gender switch that actually makes sense. This much. This much.
Yeah,
right?
I know it. Okay, so
you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going.
Into the spoiler territory.
Right.
All right. Would you like? So I did some research, but before I went and watched the movie, I watched a few videos on those old movies to see what people didn't like about them,
right?
et cetera, et cetera. And I remember watching those movies as a kid. It's where this action figure actually comes from. It was that series.
Okay.
This one right here, which he's supposed to speak. This is ancient. Anyway.
Was that Michael Chiklis played Ben Grimm?
I think so.
And
that is right now. That is to many people the definitive version of Ben Grimm,
right?
Because we'll get into it.
Okay, of the four actors that played in the Fantastic Four in the early 2000s, he was probably the best of the four.
Probably, although Chris Evans as Human Torch is also a popular pick.
He is, but I tell you what.
The weird thing is that Fantastic Four, if you look at the early comic books, Fantastic Four is not really a superhero series. It's a sci-fi adventure series with superheroes.
Okay.
They're going off and they're discovering new things and they're thinking their way through, negotiations or creating a device or doing some science mumbo jumbo to save the day, and that's kind of what the Fantastic Four do. They go explore.
Okay.
But of course, as comics develop and they become more like punch, pow, bam, blam, swing in, save the day, capes in latex and spandex, it becomes more action focused. And then, of course, because it becomes more action-focused, it tries to mature as an art form and tell more real stories and character studies and all this stuff. And they try to get more intense. And Fantastic Four never quite left that 60s era of comics.
Okay.
As characters, Reed and Sue are harder to translate in a way that comic audiences would have enjoyed, or at least writers had a hard time doing it. Whereas Johnny and Ben are far easier to put into a comic book story.
I can tell you exactly why. And
I can tell you why too.
Okay.
So go first. It's because they're adults and they're mature and they touch grass.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Okay, that is it. Okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
No, that is exactly right.
You want the biggest surprise of the movie for me?
Yeah.
I started tearing up at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Here's the bigger surprise.
Yeah.
So did your brother.
Oh, yeah.
This movie tapped into an emotional line.
It did.
That you have to be family oriented.
Yes.
Now, when I was 10 or 11 and I was at Grocerland at Avers and Fullerton and I was reading the 3 for $25 comics without the covers, a 10-year-old doesn't have the capacity to tap into that emotional line.
Yeah.
So,
they do that, and that's what they did with them in the comics line, is they tried to turn them, they delved into the Marvel's First Family tagline.
Sure.
And really went for that, but of course that...
But adults weren't reading comics back then.
Until we get... Well, I'm talking about in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, early aughts when this happened. But at the same time, it's that age-old adage of the editors will never allow Spider-Man to be happy.
Right.
In the 90s, they destroyed Peter's life in the comics because they didn't think people would be interested in following Peter through adulthood and navigating fatherhood and parenthood, which is a complete lie. Marvel, hire new people. Anyway, so I'm assuming it's the same type of editors that were looking at the Fantastic Four and going, we can't do this, no one's going to be interested, we got to make them cooler and edgier and all this stuff, which they did, and and
Peter
someone
being,
eventually salvaged the Ultimate Comics verse. But anyway,
Peter being able to go and create a cradle that swings, and put your
Isn't
baby
that
in
just
it.
the greatest image
that would be
ever?
that would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic.
So, Fantastic Four, when they made the early 2000s ones, it was also at the time when the Batman Begins came out, and that started kind of steering comic book movies really in that like darker, edgier tone.
Sure.
Fantastic Four was lighthearted. It was kind of goofy.
Yeah. Suffered by comparison?
Suffered by comparison. Yeah. That's one of the things. There's many aspects to why it didn't work. It also just kind of sidelined Reed. I think Torch and Thing kind of took took over the whole plot.
As a kid, my biggest complaint with Sue Storm is that she was weak.
They countered that by making her OP as hell in the later comic books later on, because they realized that was a common thing.
OP? Overpowered? Oh. Yeah. Overpowered or overpowering?
Overpowered. They upped her.
Okay.
In her power level.
Because in this movie, she's badass.
She's badass. I love that about this movie.
I love that about this movie.
Because I'll be honest, it's so tiring seeing the trope with Invisible Woman of fucking nosebleeds.
Oh yeah.
Which was started by the nothing against Jessica Alba herself. That casted what they could. But this was really cool seeing a competent and powerful Sue Storm
as a
Sue Richards
kid in the 70s. I was annoyed by how weak she was. It's one of the things when I sat down and I watched this movie, I said, "Oh, I like this one." That whole line, and I couldn't find the exact quote, and I couldn't write it fast enough in the theater because I'm the dude with a clipboard and a pen and paper in the theater taking notes. In fact, I asked the family to switch so that I could sit on the end where the light was for the aisle, so that I might be able to see the. Your brother looks at me and says, 2 pages of notes? I mean, I did. Anyway, They make a comment about time dilation, and she screams, "Is it bigger than mine?" Well, she's giving birth.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. That was a good line.
The humor in this actually kind of worked. It actually worked pretty well.
I am enough of I gotta question the reality of, and I should know better than to do this, right?
Suspending the disbelief.
Well, no, science fiction is always based in science with good quality fiction. So I had to ask the question, and I had to research, can you push a baby through the birth canal when you are in 0G?
I think he actually said we need gravity for you to be able to do this. That's why they slingshot.
Right.
That's why they pulled the slingshot.
Yeah, exactly. But
G's.
So I was doing a fact check on that. Do they actually need that? And yeah, probably.
You need gravity for a lot of things.
Yeah, and
obviously no one's been born in space, so we won't know for sure. But yeah, most likely.
Yes, or if you don't need the gravity created by the slingshot effect, you do need to be strapped down. You do need to be held solidly against something so that there's a force working against an object to push it out. Anyways, that was how I researched the Fantastic Four. Was can you give birth in space?
All right, so let's talk about spoiler territory.
Because this conversation has not gone anywhere near the way I thought it was going to go. So I liked the movie.
So getting into so you know what this movie? It's not a Fantastic Four movie. It is a Franklin Richards origin story. That is what this movie is. It is a Franklin Richards origin story, springboarding off of the Fantastic Four.
That would be truly disappointing if that's what this is, because if that's what this is, then they're going to abandon the Fantastic Four and focus on Franklin, and I would hate that.
Well, they're not going to I say that semi-tongue-in-cheek. It obviously is a Fantastic Four movie. but in the Fantastic Four movie is a Franklin Richards origin story.
Okay.
Because Franklin Richards is one of the most powerful beings, not humans, beings in Marvel Comics.
And I know nothing about that.
He is stupid. Again, it came in that time where they were trying to rebrand everything. He is stupidly overpowered. He is like reality rewriting powerful.
Well, that's hinted at when Galactus says that he's the only person who can like take Galactus's place and can handle it.
Which was actually a cool like twist.
Here's a guy who wants to be relieved from the horror of the trap that he's
finally we have like Galactus kind of humanized
a little bit. Yeah.
Not just because he's usually kind of there.
He could be a one-dimensional.
He's very, very
easily be
or he's a space cloud.
A space cloud?
That was what he was in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Why was he a big machine?
Because that was actually a comics callback. Typically, he comes to planets and he sets up a big machine that sucks the life energy out of a planet and feeds it to him.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's how he feeds.
Gotcha.
So his ship, All right. They gave us the big purple outfit, so, they had to ground it back in reality a little bit, make it look a little more not so crazy at some point.
Not to repeat myself too often, although I tend to have a habit of doing this. Galactus makes it to Earth and he's walking through what I'm assuming is New York City or something, the equivalent thereof. Mm-hmm. And the way they had it set up with his head coming just over the tops of the skyscrapers, I had to ask, where's Godzilla when you need him?
Right.
Because that was Japanese monster movie right there. That's all that was. And I just kept thinking Godzilla could take this guy. And now, not being the biggest fan of Godzilla movies, I've suddenly become very fond of him when I see scenes like this in movies.
I've become very fond of the lizard.
I
want the lizard to show up now.
Just show up and beat this guy and be done with it. I think one of the things that this movie set up early on, and I was kind of annoyed by it, was that clearly the Fantastic Four cannot beat Galactus. Yeah. Because they didn't beat him.
No.
They postponed the battle. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a movie that's dedicated to this group of characters, but then you make it clear early on that they're not capable of defeating their main challenge, and early on that the savior is either going to be the infant or the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
And from the movie in the early 2000s that it's the Silver Surfer.
The minute I saw that it was a Silver Surfer was going to be a Silver Surfer was going to be in this.
Right.
There's been a few, and this one's from a different planet. Technically in the comics, it's whatever. Anyway, I'm not getting into it.
This multiverse is Silver Surfer.
Someone can explain her in the comics or in the comments because I'm aware of her. I'm not taking that time right now.
I'm going to revisit her for a specific reason.
The minute I saw that there was a Silver Surfer in this movie, you knew where the movie was going to end up because there is no single story with Galactus where humans fight Galactus where Silver Surfer doesn't save the day. It has never happened.
And
yes, it's happened, but no, that's always the storyline. Is Silver Surfer comes in, takes on Galactus, almost typically loses because he's nowhere near as powerful, but gets Galactus to leave. It always happens.
And when you do that, you destroy the climax of the movie.
Now,
and they did.
Now, it kind of. I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Because when you write a character like Reed Richards, who is supposed to be the smartest man in all of Marvel Comics, hands down, he is supposed to be the smartest man in all of Marvel Comics. A character can only be as intelligent as the writer. So, what do you do with the world's smartest man up against a threat that he cannot handle?
What did you just say about these three people right here?
To be fair,
okay,
they gave us a very logical, rational solution for Reed.
Yes.
That ended up working. It needed help,
but it ended
up working.
Yes, it did.
And so, honestly, good job, because Reed was kind of just a plank that was walked on in the first two movies and didn't really contribute to anything in the first two movies.
Okay.
And other than, apparently heated metal solidifies when it's suddenly cooled by water. That is the climax to the first Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of a jerk in the reboot. So, hey, kudos. You wrote The Smart Man Smart. I actually liked that. And you know what?
Okay.
The complications that arose made sense. And I like the fact that Johnny actually had the solution to drive Surfer off in the first place. I liked that they gave Johnny something to do and he wasn't just the clown.
They took him out of the category of comic relief.
Yeah.
And they made him intelligent and they gave him a challenge and he rose to the challenge. And actually, I say they gave him the challenge. The writers gave him the challenge.
Yeah.
The character took it on himself when no one else had any faith in him.
Yeah.
And he presented a partial solution to the overall problem, and it was a key piece.
It was a key piece.
And I really enjoyed that about this movie.
I liked it.
I did. And that was actually something that was really good.
They did Johnny well in this one.
They did all the characters well.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I didn't like in everything that they did, in the final battle when Sue is pushing Galactus towards the portal.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and I'll say this very carefully. I could not have done it better than it was done. I'm not capable of acting better than what the actress did. Mm-hmm. Having said that, it didn't look particularly believable. But I can't imagine how hard it is to try to imagine everything that's taking place and then portray it in your acting. I mean, that's just a level of so I'm not really criticizing the actress as much as I'm just saying it didn't play as well as maybe some of the more dramatic elements.
I feel like there was something left on the editing room floor. I feel like there were better takes they just didn't use. Although I liked how her force fields appeared in. It was better than just like an invisible wall or just like blue.
Yes.
Hologram.
Yes, yeah. I like the way. I agree with you on that, and I thought the performance of Vanessa Kirby was fantastic.
I think it was,
and I like the overall writing of the character. It was so pleasant to see that it was a strong character.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the conflict between her and Reed when they came to the realization that their child was the key, here for Galactus. And they have that conversation where Reed realizes and vocalizes the logic of turning the child over, although I never got the feeling that he was arguing for turning the child over.
I never thought that he actually entertained the idea.
No.
I never got the feeling he entertained the idea. Just that it had occurred, that he had analyzed it.
Exactly.
It sounded like he was trying to empathize with the people outside.
It's understanding versus agreement.
Yes.
And what he vocalized was understanding.
Yes.
And I think
what she heard was agreement.
No, I don't know that she heard agreement. I'll be totally honest with you. I think what she heard was there is no understanding in this situation. I think that's what she heard. I would love to talk to the writers about that because these are two very rational people who are very close. They love each other. They understand each other. This is a vintage husband-wife argument. It's a communication issue. It is not a disagreement issue.
That's a very Reed problem to have.
Exactly.
It's a very Reed Richards. It's very in character for Reed Richards to say something
almost
and be completely tone deaf to how he said it.
Aspie-ish.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
And so I really enjoyed that moment. And she realized that because it wasn't an argument that carried through the rest of the movie or pervaded. They had that. I think
it wrapped up fairly very cohesively.
The man versus man conflict in the movie, the Fantastic Four versus humanity, when humanity realizes that giving up the child would be the key to saving the planet. I think that was an unfair treatment of humanity. There is certainly a segment of society that would believe that way, but there is an equally large, if not larger, segment of society that would say, no, 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 you never do that. And as I was thinking about it, I started thinking about Batman.
Yeah.
Because the Christopher Nolan Batman scene on the ferries with the bombs handled this concept better. Okay, so and this is where the two ferries are rigged with explosives, and one is common people and one is
criminals.
The criminals.
Yeah,
and it's actually a criminal who takes the detonator from the warden's hands.
Yeah,
and says, "I'm going to do what you should have done 10 minutes ago," and he crumples it and he throws it away.
Yeah,
right, or he throws it out the porthole. Something, he gets rid of it.
Yeah.
This is actually part of game theory.
A game theory.
It is. It is.
It is part of game theory. And,
yes.
And so I read this quote. Lindsay Romaine, it's a 2018 Polygon article. And she said, instead, the boat sequence steers the nihilistic story of The Dark Knight toward a somewhat happy ending. Not happy in circumstance necessarily, but happy in that it posits humanity as more than just self-serving blight on the planet.
I'm surprised that came from Polygon. Nice.
I don't know anything about Polygon. All I know is that particular line in her article shows what Fantastic Four missed, because they painted society in the darker edge as a one-sided villain. They did not give it balance.
Yeah, they didn't. They had a concept to explore there that they just didn't. They just probably should have cut it from. They probably should have cut that whole conflict from the thing if they weren't going to do it correctly, because you already had the issue of how do we stop Galactus. That was enough to carry the film if you had just spent more time on that versus this.
Well, okay, so
because you could have taken the time to. They had a Ben subplot. They had a Johnny trying to get with the Silver Surfer subplot. Right. So you could have. My point being, there's other things you could have explored and just taken that out. You could have still had the fact that Galactus wanted the kid.
Right.
But you could have removed the humanity versus Fantastic Four plot.
Now. Okay,
and still could have had a good movie.
So what was the quote that she had when she went out and she talked to the people?
Her mom said that she would move heaven and earth for her kids.
No. She said, "I'm not going to."
I'm not going to sacrifice my kid for this planet, but I'm also not going to sacrifice this planet for my kid.
Yeah, that's basically, and I just found it right here. It was on this page right here. And that was a very nice wrap up to it. It was a very good statement. It was one of the better lines of the movie.
Yeah.
It was concise. I don't know that the average crowd thinking the way they painted humanity would have accepted that and let her walk away. But,
I don't think that the average crowd would have let her start that speech in the first place if you were going to do that.
Yeah,
but,
this is true.
Whatever.
But tonally, the movie... Tonally, the movie wasn't set up for a concept like this. Whereas, like The Dark Knight was.
Yes.
And I think that's where they maybe... They tried to lightly touch on something that deserves more depth.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially since they avoided the common Ben Grimm storyline. This was a Fantastic Four movie where Ben doesn't really miss being human. He does a little bit, obviously, but like the first movie, Ben is sulking for 90% of it,
Every comic I read as a kid, Ben was sulking.
Ben is sulking over being... It's a key part to his character in many aspects, so it's very rare that we get a Fantastic Four storyline where Ben is happy as the Thing.
Right.
And And it does lead to really good storylines where he gives up his chance at being human again to stay the Thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember that.
He seemed far more comfortable as the Thing in this movie. So
because they weren't dealing with that issue.
Because they weren't dealing with that issue.
He looked sad and lonely when he was walking down the street. He was clearly always happy to see that young lady. I don't remember her name. School teacher was she?
It was the school teacher,
right?
yeah. But
it wasn't the blind girlfriend that he couldn't accept. You know, the obvious that she can't see him, but she sees the person. Yeah, you know, that whole thing. So that was kind of good.
You know, but like he had positive interactions in the street too.
Yes, he did.
In several of the aside from the one dude annoying him with the clobbering time. And they always have to figure out where to insert the clobbering. They just have it be his catchphrase if you're going to use it. We get it. We get it. You don't need to come up with a reason for it to exist. It can just be his thing.
And you just knew the first time it was mentioned that eventually he would say it.
Yes,
so
just have him say it from the beginning.
So it didn't have the punch that it would have. If they had never referenced it, and he pulled it out, the theater would have erupted. And
you know, you don't need to come up with the origin of clobbering time. Everyone loves clobbering time, especially just a few. Yeah. Although, what did you think of his voice in this one? Because this was a stark departure from how he's normally portrayed in most media. Because he's usually very, "Hey, Stretch."
All right. I enjoyed the casting. Yeah. Because if there's one thing they did well in this movie is they casted it well. And so there were in the actor who played Ben Grimm.
We've seen him in Marvel before.
I know. We've seen him. We saw him in Andor.
Yes, we did.
Right, which I think was my first introduction to him.
I think Punisher came out first.
Did it?
Yeah,
okay,
Punisher came out first.
That would have been my first. Anyways.
Yeah.
Really, when you cast the right people. Yeah. So it never occurred to me to question the voice. It was just.
I think a lot of people were kind of taken aback that they didn't give him the tough
New York street kid.
I'm a New York street kid, and I usually, pardon the pun, have a gravelly voice.
You know, that just gets overdone. It gets tiring. It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
I was watching a television show in
Yancey Street.
It would have been a YouTube channel today. Anyways, there's a guy who gets on a boat and he goes out and he explores bodies of water with sonar and he finds sunken cars and then he calls the police dive unit to look. They go down because they do missing persons investigations.
Yeah.
And like he found this lake and I don't know where it's at. There were 17 cars in the bottom of this body of water and they're looking for a mother and 3 kids who went missing 24 years ago. This is really cool.
Okay.
Right? Because it's really a positive project.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the dive master for the team that was doing the diver sounded like he was yanked right off the streets of Brooklyn. He sounded like what you're talking about. And so, you know, it's like, it's not just a stereotype that's made up. There's people who actually talk that way. But this Ben was a refreshing departure from that because it gave him intelligence and humanity without the brutish, I'm a thug.
He kind of felt just kind of happy. I like the beard too. I like the beard. That was cool.
If he is the best pilot, and if he's one of the most competent people to join the crew and to fly, right?
Yeah.
He can't be a thug. But the type of character that you are describing, the old Ben voice, and you know that stereotypical character reminds me a lot of Dudley Dursley, who speaks slowly and haltingly because he's trying to piece the words together in his head because he's so mentally slow. Right.
I think with most of the TV shows I've seen and like in the current Marvel video game,
right,
Thing is portrayed as not unintelligent. he's portrayed. I think the reason they give him that is because he's made of rocks. So they try to make the voice match the appearance, and I think that's why they've emphasized that. But I think he's always been from New York. He's always been from the streets of New York. He's just also happens to be a good pilot. That's why Yancey Street is
What would have happened? This is going to sound like a cheap shot, and it's not at all.
No.
What would have happened if Ben Grimm was an effeminate gay man but an expert pilot, and went up into space and came back as the Thing, going, My point being this. You can put just about any voice with the rock body.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And still have it be a quality person because there's a human being.
I don't think anyone is arguing the quality of the person, Dad. I think they're talking about does the voice match the appearance of someone who is made of living rocks.
That's my point. It doesn't have to match.
I think he was fine. I
enjoyed the performance. I thought it was great. I thought it was great casting
across
the board. Did you?
I was unsure at first, and then I watched the movie. It was fine.
Did you notice the actor who played the baby?
There were multiple. The main one's name was Ava.
Ada.
Was it Ada?
It was Ada.
I thought it was Ava.
The source I saw online said it was Ada. Franklin was a girl.
What's the name? Yeah, I saw that.
Not that I care. Baby was cute as a button.
It's a baby. You get a baby that fits.
I'm watching the movie, and I'm watching the baby's line of sight. I'm watching where the baby's looking, and there's Reed, there's the baby, and there's the baby's mom off camera, right?
That is exactly what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, making googly eyes at it, But hey, whatever. That's So I will tell you, if you're noticing things like that, the movie isn't grabbing your attention like they want it to.
Yeah,
truly. I mean, that's just
There's a few moments where this just slips. I mean, naming the ship Excelsior. Come on, guys. Really? I get it. It's a Stan Lee reference.
Oh.
He used to say Excelsior. I can't do a Stan Lee voice.
Why did he say that?
It was just one of his
things.
It was one of his things.
Gotcha.
Excelsior.
So when you early on in the movie, I realized it was either Franklin or Silver Surfer who was going to defeat the Galactus Witch won, and so the minute Silver Surfer did, and Sue is allegedly dead, laying on the street.
Dead.
Right. It's obvious Franklin's going to save because nobody else could. So, I mean, some of that was just a little bit
it's very, very
predictable.
Very tropey.
Yeah, it was. The whole idea of moving the Earth, it was the only... I'm able to suspend my disbelief from the comic book region, you know, when you're doing... But the whole idea of moving the Earth... I just thought human beings are not capable of cooperating nation to nation and building something that.
I think they tried to make it show it. It was kind of cool though that there was like the Fantastic Four had been working to like secure general cooperation across the globe, and that was the presence of this. And it was kind of a cool take to see like, oh, here's the positive side of like a random superhero, the only superhero team on this planet.
Yeah, yes,
because they didn't imply that there were other things. There was the Subterraneans, Mole Man. That was a clever way of incorporating Mole Man, who's just kind of the butt of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, but
jokes.
you know what?
The dragon that from the original Fantastic Four comic, I believe, is what that was. The dragon that was coming up.
The one problem with Mole Man.
Underminer?
It really needed Ratzenberger's voice. It really needed. Because that's exactly what I thought when I saw it.
Well, Underminer was a reference to Mole Man.
Well,
is.
You know,
So,
but,
yeah.
you know, so, I mean, it
So
was-
let's do the full
let's
circle.
do it,
again.
you know, and so you know, again, that it's one of those things that you're not quite fully into the movie. The Future Foundation Summit. I tell you what.
The Future Foundation was a cool reference to. That was another comic reference.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, and it was interesting to see
which is the Fantastic Four with Spider-Man instead of Human Torch. That's what Future Foundation is.
Really.
So
there was a Fantastic Four with Spider-Man instead of Human Torch.
So what happened was they went to a place called the Negative Zone, and they were trying to escape a guy called Annihilus, I think is what his name was.
Right.
Anyway, the portal was closing, and Johnny stayed behind and sacrificed himself to protect the others as they went through. Honestly, it's a very hard to read storyline afterwards because Ben goes off the rails. Spidey has to take Franklin out and talk to about his uncle Ben.
Okay.
And try to connect with Franklin on that level. It's a very touching storyline because it genuinely affected a lot of people when Human Torch died. He eventually came back. Obviously, it's comic books, but for a while there,
did they ever follow his individual adventures?
In the Negative Zone?
Yeah, that would have been a cool comic.
The final shot is him going flame. I'll post. Here you go. Is him going flame on towards this massive crowd. I think they did.
Okay.
I didn't read that. I just know he comes back. But yeah, there was a time where while he was in the Negative Zone, Reed, Sue, and Ben invited Spidey to come be a part of it, and they became the Future Foundation.
Gotcha.
It's probably the most stable time in Spider-Man's life, I'll be honest.
The
doesn't catch a break.
Yeah. I'm watching that. It was nice to see Sue being credited with being such a diplomat. It was another level of the character.
Yes.
I realized as I'm watching the movie that they're probably pulling elements from a whole bunch of different comic lines.
Yes.
And I never watched all of those. I did notice, and I thought of you right at the beginning of the movie, because they made a point of focusing on the empty seats with Latveria name tag. Right,
yeah.
Okay. And I'm watching it, and I'm saying to myself, okay, clearly this is important. But then I thought to myself, well, I know now because I researched it. Because I had to research it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Ultimately, you are right that Marvel has changed the way we have to look at movies because we're responsible for knowing things that the movie doesn't tell us.
Well, and if we're getting into that,
well, and we don't need to discuss it because we've discussed it before.
Well, there's been an update to that, which you'll like. Kevin Feige has acknowledged that is a problem, and that's part of the reason why all their current shit's failing. Is because he felt like Thunderbolts didn't do as well because you had to go watch like 5 Disney Plus shows to understand where the characters were at and what they were doing. Which I'm not sure I completely agree with. Thunderbolts was a good movie in its own right. I think it was just poorly marketed. But
I think
at the same time,
Thunderbolts was a very good movie.
I think most people who watched Thunderbolts thought it was a good movie.
Right.
It did not do super well at the box office. I think it technically failed, but I think the studio is realizing that. Well, first off, they didn't have a plan, and when they did have a plan, it got derailed because of the Jonathan Majors case, and that whole situation. And then apparently, I think this was them trying to save face. Apparently, they said, "Oh, we realized Kang was not the next Thanos." Bullshit. BS. You should have just kept going with it.
Recast
if you needed to,
and then move on, or not. I don't know.
I think it got settled. I'm not sure how that case handled. Anyway. You could have moved forward with it. It was your best plan, and now you're scrambling to incorporate one of the most powerful people in your entire lore.
Our audience is going to accept the actor who's playing Doom.
I don't know. We'll have to find out. I think they did a disservice I think they're going to do a disservice by not originating Doom. I think we're going to have a problem where that Doom isn't going to get the setup that a character of his magnitude deserves. Because in the comics, Doom has become one of the most powerful villains
Okay.
in the entire multiverse.
The early 2000s movies. How well was the origin
Horrible.
story? Okay, well, when you don't have to finish the question, you know.
Horrible. Doom in the comics not only is a king of his own country, emperor, ruler of his own country, which means he has diplomatic immunity on Earth. He is smart, if not smarter than Reed Richards.
Ooh.
And he is also almost as powerful, if not as powerful, as Doctor Strange in magic. And the suit in modern day is a combination of technology and magic, of which he is an expert of both. And the only thing that ever leads to Doom being defeated is his own freaking ego. But he also has the willpower to just refuse to die and refuse to go to hell and refuse to lose. He has beaten Thanos. He has beaten Mephisto. He has beaten 90% of the heavy. He's beaten Galactus. He has beaten 90% of the heavy hitters in Marvel. I am scared for what they're going to do to this character.
Obviously, you're scared at how badly they're going to treat him.
I don't think that they're going to do the proper setup for him. Yes. I believe elephant in the room, that Robert Downey Jr. could play him? Yes. Do I wish he wasn't? Also, yes.
They're hoping an actor is going to revive a series.
They are hoping that a beloved actor is going to revive a series. I don't think it will. I don't think they've done any of the proper necessary setup for it.
Who would you cast as him?
Who would I cast as Doom? You want my honest opinion on who I would cast as Doom?
I want you to just completely lie because...
No, honestly...
Yeah, honestly.
Honestly, Giancarlo Esposito. Gus from Breaking Bad.
Wow. Isn't he a little old for that?
Doesn't matter. Does
yeah,
not
but
matter.
I mean...
Ian McKellen played Magneto, so...
Sure, but I'm only thinking of the length of time it takes future movies. You would have to recast him eventually.
Eventually you would.
Because isn't he in his 70s? You are 100%
Yeah.
correct. He's a tremendous actor.
If
He is
you
an
asked
absolutely
me
tremendous
right
actor.
now who I want to see in a movie playing Victor Von Doom,
It would be him.
it would be Giancarlo.
Wow.
100%, that is who I would cast in this
Wow.
moment. If I had to blindly cast someone,
And such
that's it.
a distinct voice, too.
Yes, and I think you just put a little mask muffle on it, and I think you would have a Doom. That would be dream casting. Unfortunately, they put him in a no role, like just a minor role in the Sam Wilson Captain America movie that apparently didn't go anywhere. So you wasted him. Thank you, Marvel. Fantastic Four First Steps is a good movie, though.
I like it, and I think if you
it
haven't
does.
seen it, you should go see it. If you have seen it, please tell us what you think. I would love to find out what everybody thinks about this movie.
Yeah. It's not saving... If this had just been a standalone movie that didn't tie in with the rest of the MCU, and I didn't know that it was trying to tie in with the rest of the MCU eventually,
Yeah.
I think this would have been way better, because there would be no expectations on this movie. And I think that this movie would have just been a really fun side quest.
Fun little romp where you eat popcorn and you watch a movie and you enjoy it.
Although I've been experimenting at B&B. They've got all these new types of theaters at B&B.
Okay.
So I go to the theater that has all these experimental, the 4D, the 4X, the X screen, which is the 270. It's got
all right.
It's got two triangles on the side that expand it. I hate that one. It never looks good from any angle but center back.
Okay.
It's the only place in the theater where it looks good. I've seen a couple movies on it. I don't like it.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah,
I'm going to the wrong theater.
Yeah,
I got my little
sometime.
my small town 4 screen.
I'll take you there sometime. This one I did. It was a 4D type theater where the seats are like a roller coaster ride that shift and vibrate, and they shoot mist and fans in your face as you watch the movie.
B&B has one of those?
B&B has one of those.
Wow.
No glasses required.
Wow.
It's very distracting.
Really?
very distracting.
Okay.
So I'll take you there. So I'm slowly reviewing all these different theater types that they've got. Love B&B theaters. They're absolutely fantastic.
Oh, B&B's fantastic.
These gimmick theaters, though, is...
Well, I didn't know you were doing that. That'd be that's a whole video episode for us.
Let's go see Superman with that.
All right, let's do that. Because, look, I would say go see Fantastic Four. I had a whole bunch of other, stuff on here that really isn't now worth going over.
I see how your rising action to cliff diagram.
No, you see how
Falling
I didn't
action.
use it.
Yeah,
actually, I didn't use it. So a little inside baseball. A couple weeks ago, we're on a phone call, and Noah says, I think maybe we need to get back to our roots and take a little more structured approach to the movies, like we did in the beginning. So I actually pulled up a plot diagram, and I took 2 of these to the theater with me, and ended up just using them as the backsides to speed take notes, understanding everything that I was looking for. But I've probably got a full page on the different conflicts in this movie.
Yeah,
because they really packed a lot in. And when you break them down and you take a look at it, you've got multiple examples of man versus self, man versus man versus the supernatural. There's just a whole bunch of them in there. It's really layered with a lot of, if you look at the rising action of a movie and you look at all the little obstacles that they're overcoming along the way, they did a great job of keeping all of these little challenges going until they got to the main battle.
Yeah.
Which was, again, a tad disappointing for me. But the ones along the way, I think the only thing that I really didn't like of the minor obstacles was Reed talking to the baby saying, "I'm going to stop looking at you all the time." Because it was out of place. You didn't see a build up to it.
Yeah.
You didn't see what happened that ended up on the editing room floor.
Yeah.
That
I know this movie went through some extensive reshoots. So
yeah.
I'm wondering what happened.
What happened? So, because he's an obsessive character who couldn't enjoy, from the very beginning of the movie, he couldn't enjoy the discovery of the pregnancy because he was so worried about the future.
Yeah.
And then without proper motivation, he let go of being worried. And so they really did disservice to his character by not showing how he got to that point. And what dad is going to stop worrying about their kids? Mine are all adults. I still worry about them. My dad said to me, "You will never understand until you're a dad that you never stop worrying about your kids." And now all my kids are adults. And my dad was 100% correct. And that's just a thing. And so I'm watching Reed go, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop looking in the baby monitor at you." And I'm like, well, where did that come from?
And he stopped worrying about the powers because he's trying to figure out. He's trying to figure out what the powers are.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I hate fake CPR. I'm so tired of fake CPR.
I hate fake CPR. I hate that. You're telling me.
Okay.
You notice they only ever get mouth to mouth right?